There is a skill, a powerful one, but it is not taught in schools, not listed in job titles, and yet it shapes your entire life. It is the skill of connection, of reading people, of responding with care, with confidence, with presence. This skill is called social intelligence. Before we dive in, take a second to like, subscribe, share, and comment. If you believe in the power of growth, join us. This journey starts now. So what is social intelligence? It is not about being loud. It is not about being funny. And it is not about being the center of attention. Social intelligence is the quiet ability to understand people, to feel the room, to know when to speak, and when to stay silent. It is about listening, not just to words, but to body language, to eyes, to tone, to what is not being said. Have you ever walked into a room and felt uncomfortable, even though no one said anything? Have you ever had a conversation where someone smiled, but you could feel they were not being honest? That is social intelligence. That feeling, that awareness, that instinct, that tells you what is real. Most people ignore it. They push past the signals. They say, I do not want to overthink. But those signals matter. They are clues. They are data. They are how people speak without speaking. Now, listen closely. Social intelligence is not about control. It is not about tricks. It is not about fake charm. It is about presence, awareness, respect, and real connection. It is the difference between being heard and being understood, between being liked and being trusted. And trust, that is what opens doors. There is a reason why some people walk into a room, and everyone notices. They do not force it. They just carry something different. Calm, warmth, understanding. They know how to read people and how to respond, not react. That is what this book is about. That is what this summary will teach you. Social intelligence is not the same as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is about knowing yourself, your moods, your reactions, your feelings. Social intelligence is about others, reading them, sensing them, respecting their space. And here is the best part. You can learn it. You can build it. You can practice it until it becomes natural. You do not need to be born with it. It is not a gift. It is a skill. And the moment you decide to grow that skill, your relationships begin to change. Your career, your peace, your leadership, all of it begins to rise. Imagine this. You walk into a meeting. You instantly feel who is open and who is holding back. You know who needs comfort, who needs space, and who needs to be heard. You speak with care. You listen with power. You lead with calm. That is not magic. That is social intelligence. And in this noisy world, where people are quick to speak, but slow to listen, this skill, it becomes a superpower. So stay with me. In the next part, we will explore how your brain connects with others, how it reads faces, how it mirrors energy, how it feels emotion without needing words. This is science, but also it is soul. You were born to connect, not to hide, not to isolate, not to walk alone. Human beings are social by nature. We are wired for people, for voice, for touch, for expression. This is not opinion. This is biology. Science. It is written in your brain. Your brain is not just thinking. It is feeling, sensing, reading the world through emotion. There is a part of your brain that lights up when you see someone smile, or when you hear pain in someone's voice, or when you walk into a room that feels tense. This part of your brain is called the social brain. It does not need words. It does not wait for logic. It reacts instantly. You feel it when someone gets too close, when someone avoids eye contact, when someone's energy changes. You feel it even before you understand it. Let me give you an example. You are talking to someone. They are nodding, smiling, but something feels off. Your brain knows. It picks up microsignals, tension in the eyes, a tight jaw, a fake laugh. Your social brain alerts you. Something is not right. You do not always know why, but you feel it. That feeling is data, real and useful. Most people ignore it. They doubt their instinct. They talk over it. They keep the conversation going. But social intelligence teaches you to pause, to listen deeper, to respond with awareness. Let us go deeper. Have you heard of mirror neurons? These are special cells in your brain. When you see someone smile, your brain lights up too. It mirrors the emotion. That is why emotions spread. Fear, joy, stress, excitement. They are contagious, not because of words, but because of connection. This means one thing: your presence affects people. Even when you say nothing, your energy walks into the room before your voice ever does. If you are tense, others feel it. If you are calm, others feel safe. That is social intelligence, not controlling others, but managing your own presence so others feel understood. Think about this. Two people enter a room. One talks loud, takes up space, but no one listens. The other speaks softly, makes eye contact, listens deeply, and the room leans in. Why? Because real connection is not in volume. It is in presence, in emotional clarity, in being fully there. Your brain was built to connect, but modern life makes us forget. We text instead of talk. We scroll instead of share. We avoid discomfort instead of understanding it. But when you return to connection, you return to power. You begin to read people, not judge, just observe. You begin to respond. Instead of react, you begin to lead by calming the storm, not adding to it. Let me tell you a story. A man walked into a job interview. He had all the right answers, strong resume, polished words, but the room felt cold. He never once looked the interviewer in the eye. He did not notice their stress. He pushed his agenda, but never asked a single question. They thanked him and said goodbye. Later that day, another person came in, less experienced, less polished, but they listened. They noticed. They asked, "Are you okay today?" The manager paused, took a breath, and smiled. They hired her on the spot because she connected. That is the power of a trained social brain. Say this out loud. My brain is wired for people. I listen with presence. I connect with calm. I understand what is not said. Social intelligence is not about being clever. It is about being present. And that starts with how your brain sees people. You walk into a room. You say nothing. No one speaks. But you feel something. You feel tension. You feel silence. You feel energy, heavy or warm, open or cold. That feeling is real. It is your brain picking up signals. Unspoken ones. Nonverbal ones. The kind most people miss. This is the skill of reading the room. And it is one of the most powerful parts of social intelligence. Most people talk too fast. They rush to speak. They focus on their words. They miss the signs all around them. But those signs are everywhere. Look at the body, the face, the hands, the way people sit, the way they breathe. People speak in gestures, in posture, in pauses. They speak with crossed arms, with forced smiles, with raised eyebrows, with clenched jaws. You just have to learn how to see it. Let us break it down. When someone is open, they lean toward you. They nod. Their face is soft. Their arms are relaxed. They hold eye contact. When someone is closed, they lean away. They look at the door. Their feet point out. They avoid your eyes. These signals are honest, more honest than words, because the body never lies. Let me tell you a story. A teacher walked into a classroom. The students were silent, but their bodies were loud. Half were slouched, half were frozen. One girl had her arms crossed tight. The teacher did not start with the lesson. He started with a question. Rough morning. Heads nodded, eyes lifted. The room softened. He read the silence and responded to the real message. That day, the class listened because they felt seen. Reading the room is not about being perfect. It is about being present. Ask yourself, who is quiet right now? Who is tense? Who keeps checking their phone? Who keeps looking at someone else for approval? These are clues. They tell you what is really going on. You do not need to react. You just need to notice. That noticing changes everything. Reading the room also means reading yourself. How are you entering the space? Are you calm or are you rushing? Are you making space for others or just filling the air? People can feel your mood even before you speak. So pause. Take a breath. Set your energy before you enter. Let us go deeper. Some people speak more with silence than they ever do with words. They give you a look, a sigh, a stillness that says, "Not now." And if you are paying attention, you hear them loud and clear. But if you are not, you push, you talk over them, you miss the moment. That is how trust breaks, not through loud mistakes, but through quiet disconnection. Here is the truth. Reading the room is not about being smart. It is about being still, still enough to feel, still enough to sense what others miss, still enough to see behind the mask, because most people wear one. They smile, but inside they are tired. They laugh, but inside they are holding pain. They talk, but say nothing true. If you can feel that, you can meet them where they are. And when people feel met, they begin to open. That is the power of presence. That is the gift of reading the room. Say this out loud. I slow down. I observe. I feel energy. I respond with care. Because social intelligence is not about noise. It is about knowing when to speak and when to just listen. People remember how you made them feel, more than what you said, more than what you did, more than any clever words you used. It is not just the moment. It is the echo, the emotional trace you leave behind. That is social intelligence. Think about it. You meet someone. They smile. They nod. But you feel judged. Nothing unkind is said. No insult. No cold words. And yet, you feel small, unwelcome, out of place. Why? Because energy speaks, even when the mouth is silent. Now think of someone else. They are quiet. They do not say much, but they listen, really listen. You feel safe. You feel seen. You feel warm. That person may say little, but their energy speaks loud. That is the emotional echo. And you leave it behind every day. Your presence is more powerful than you think. Walk into a room with anger, and the tension spreads. Walk into a room with peace, and others breathe easier. Walk in with ego, and people guard themselves. Walk in with calm, with kindness, with true attention, and people soften. Walls come down. Hearts begin to open. Here is the truth. You teach people how to feel. Around you, through your tone, your eye contact, your pace, your patience. Fast talk creates stress. Calm voice creates trust. Rushing shows fear. Slowness shows strength. You do not have to impress people. You have to settle them. And to settle others, you must first settle yourself. Let me tell you a story. There was a doctor, brilliant, respected, but his patients feared him. He spoke fast. He gave orders. He had no time for questions. He thought he was doing everything right. Then one day, a child in his care cried, just from seeing him walk in. The doctor stopped. He realized something. It was not his words. It was his presence. He began to slow down. He made space. He looked people in the eye. He listened before he spoke. Months later, his patients smiled, trusted him, thanked him. He did not change his knowledge. He changed his energy. This is what most people never learn. The room feels you. Before it hears you, people feel your mood, your motive, your presence, and they decide in seconds whether to trust you or guard themselves. So ask yourself, what emotional echo do you leave behind? Do people feel relaxed after being with you? Do they feel understood? Or do they feel ignored? Do they feel judged? Or do they feel safe? You may never know what someone is going through, but you can control what you bring to them. Here is how to carry better energy. Breathe before you speak. Silence your rush. Choose your tone. See the person, not the surface. Look past the words. Feel what is behind them. Lead with presence, not power. Power pushes. Presence invites. Reflect after every conversation. Ask, how did I make them feel? Say this out loud. I calm the room I enter. I carry peace. I bring warmth. I make space. I lead with energy, not ego. With care, not control. This is not about charm. It is about impact. Because when the words fade, the energy remains. And that is what people remember most. Most people do not listen. They wait to speak. They prepare their next sentence. They nod, but their mind is somewhere else. This is not listening. This is performance. Real listening is different. It is quiet. It is patient. It is powerful. It creates space. It gives comfort. It earns trust. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Not just your words, but your heart. Not just your facts, but your feelings. How did it feel? It felt rare. It felt deep. It felt safe. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you made someone feel that way? That is the measure of connection. That is what builds relationships. And that is social intelligence. Listening is not passive. It is not just standing silent. It is a full body skill. Your eyes must stay present. Your body must face the speaker. Your phone must be away. Your attention must be full. Because people know. They know when you are pretending. They know when you are halfway gone. They may keep talking, but their heart will not open. Because people only go deep when they feel heard. There are 3 levels of listening. First, you hear the words. Simple. Surface. Second, you hear the emotion. Anger. Sadness. Fear. Hope. Third, you hear what is not said. The silence. The breath between sentences. The truth hiding under a joke. Most people live on the first level. Few reach the second. Almost none reach the third. But when you do, you become unforgettable. You become someone people return to because they feel seen. Let me tell you a story. A young man was struggling. He lost his job. He felt ashamed. He did not want advice. He just wanted someone to listen. He went to his friend. His friend cut him off. Just apply somewhere else, he said. Be positive. The young man smiled politely, but inside he shut down. He tried again, this time with his grandmother. She sat with him, silent, calm, present. She let him speak. She let him pause. She said nothing for minutes. Then softly, she said, "It sounds like you feel lost." Tears filled his eyes. Finally, someone understood. She did not fix him. She did not rush him. She heard him. That is real listening. You do not need to fix everyone. You do not need to have all the answers. Sometimes the greatest gift is just your silence, your stillness, your full attention. That is what heals people. That is what lifts people. Not your advice, not your knowledge, but your presence. Here are some ways to become a better listener. Pause before you speak. Do not rush to fill the silence. Let it breathe. Reflect back what you hear. Say, "It sounds like you feel." Or, "I hear that this was hard for you." Ask gentle questions. Not to judge, just to explore. What do you mean by that? How long have you felt this way? Hold eye contact. Not too strong, but steady, present. Be okay with emotion. Do not change the subject. Let the moment stay real. Say this out loud. "I listen with my whole heart. I hear more than just words. I create space for truth. My silence is strength." You do not have to speak much to be powerful. You just have to care enough to listen deeply, because when people feel heard, they begin to heal. That is the power you carry in your stillness. Words can heal. Words can harm. Words can open someone's heart or shut them down completely. You may listen well. You may feel what others feel. But if your response is careless, the connection ends right there. This is why wisdom matters. Not just what you say, but how you say it. Speaking with wisdom means one thing. You speak to understand, not to win, not to correct, not to prove a point. You speak with care, with pause, with kindness in your voice, because your words carry weight. They leave marks. They echo. Let us be honest. Most people speak too soon, too sharp, too fast. They speak from pride, from fear, from ego. They respond to defend themselves, to show they are right. But they forget. The goal is not to win the moment. The goal is to protect the connection. Let me tell you a story. A woman shared her struggle. She said she was tired. She was overwhelmed. She felt like she was failing at life. Her friend replied, "You just need to stop complaining. Other people have it worse." Those words hit hard. The woman went quiet. She never opened up again. Now, same moment, same story, different response. Another friend said, "I can see this is heavy for you. I may not have the answers, but I am here." That moment, it changed everything. Same words shared, but one response built a wall. The other built a bridge. You do not need perfect words. You just need honest care, warm tone, slow delivery, real attention. Wisdom is not being clever. It is being calm. It is speaking from peace, not pressure. Here is how to respond with wisdom. First, pause. Even just a few seconds. It shows presence. It shows respect. It shows you are thinking, not reacting. Second, use soft language. Instead of saying, "You always do this," say, "I noticed this happened again. Instead of, that is not true, say, I see it differently. Can I share how I see it? Small changes, huge impact. People do not remember your facts. They remember your tone. Third, validate their emotion. Say, that sounds hard. I can see this means a lot to you. Thanks for trusting me with this. These are simple phrases, but they make people feel safe. And safe people open up, grow, heal. Let us go deeper. Speaking wisely also means knowing when not to speak. Sometimes silence is the best answer. Sometimes just a nod or a hand on the shoulder says more than any words. Wisdom knows when to hold space, not fill it. Wisdom listens for what someone needs, not just what they say. Here is a truth to remember. You cannot change people with force, but you can reach them with empathy. When people feel judged, they shut down. But when they feel understood, they reflect, they soften, they begin to shift. That is the power of wise response. Say this out loud. I speak with care. I pause with purpose. I do not rush my words. I speak to build, not break. My words create space. My voice carries kindness. My presence brings peace. You do not need to say a lot to say something that matters. You just need to mean it, because wisdom in speech is not about volume. It is about value. And when your words feel safe, people begin to listen. Social intelligence is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not need applause, but it changes lives. One moment at a time, one word at a time, one conversation at a time. It is the power that most people never talk about, but everyone feels. You do not see it on a resume. You do not measure it with a test, but it shows up in how people respond to you, how they trust you, how they open up when you walk in the room. That is real power. Quiet, steady, lasting. This journey began with awareness, noticing your mind, noticing your energy, noticing how others respond to you. Then we stepped into presence, learning how to read the room, how to feel the energy, how to sense what words cannot say. Then we moved into empathy, how to listen deeply, how to hold space, how to carry peace. Then we learned how to speak, not to impress, but to connect, to help people feel safe, not small. And now here we are, at the closing of this journey. But the real work, it begins today. It begins in how you carry yourself, at the dinner table, at work, in silence, in stress, in love. Because social intelligence is not something you switch on. It is something you live. It is in the pause, before you react, the breath, before you speak, the eye contact that says, I see you. It is in how you hold space for pain, how you lift someone with kindness, how you leave people better than you found them. That is social mastery, and it is built, not born. Let me tell you a final story. There was a man known by everyone in his town, not because he was famous, not because he was rich, but because he made people feel safe. He remembered names. He smiled with his eyes. He asked, "How is your family?" And he meant it. One day, someone asked him, "What is your secret?" He said, "People will forget what you give them, but they will never forget how they felt in your presence." And that is your power too, to leave people feeling heard, to help them feel calm, to make them feel less alone. This is how you lead. This is how you love. This is how you rise above the noise. Not by shouting, not by chasing, but by listening, by understanding, by learning how to respond with heart So ask yourself, what kind of energy do I bring? What kind of space do I create? What kind of echo do I leave behind? Your answers will shape your path, not just in work, but in life. Because every relationship, every moment of trust, every team, every friendship begins with social intelligence. Say this out loud. I carry presence. I choose peace. I build trust. I listen more than I speak. I grow stronger through awareness. I lead with quiet power, and I respond with care. Thank you for walking this journey, for giving your time, and for choosing to grow. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let this message reach someone else who needs it today. And remember this, in a world full of noise, you do not have to be the loudest. You just have to be the deepest. That is what people feel. And that is what they never forget.